Someone asked you for something last week. You didn't want to do it. You knew you didn't want to do it. You had a clear answer ready to go, and then something happened in your chest before the word came out. Maybe a tightness, a flash of guilt. By the time your brain caught up, you'd already said yes. You're not bad at saying no. You were trained by your family, your environment, your entire upbringing to believe that saying no is a form of cruelty, that your compliance is love, and that your boundaries are selfishness. You learn this before you even have the language to question it. It doesn't feel like something you were taught. It feels like something you are. It's not. It's a pattern. Someone's using it against you right now. Nobody sat you down and said, "You're not allowed to say no." The training happened through thousands of small moments across your childhood that all carried the same message. You said you didn't want to hug your aunt. Your mother gave you the look, not anger or disappointment. You learned that your comfort mattered less than someone else's feelings. You said you didn't want to share your toy. You were told you're being selfish, not that sharing was optional, that refusing meant there was something wrong with you. You said you didn't want to go to the party. Your father said, "After everything we've done for you, you can't do this one thing for us." You learned that your preferences could be overridden by invoking a debt you never agreed to carry. Each moment is small. None of them alone would cause lasting damage. The damage comes from repetition. Thousands of moments across years, all pointing in the same direction. Your needs are negotiable. Other people's needs are not. By the time you're an adult, the lesson is not something you think about. It's something your body does. Someone asks you for something. Before your brain has finished evaluating the request, your mouth has already said yes. The guilt arrives before thought. You're not choosing to say yes, you're reacting. The same way you pull your hand back from a hot stove, except this reflex was installed by people who needed you to be agreeable. You didn't know that this was happening. You were a child. You adapted to survive the environment you were in. The adaptation worked. The problem is that it never turned off. And here is the part that no one tells you. Those survival skills you developed as a child, they worked. The child who reads a parent's mood and adjusts avoids conflict. The child who volunteers before being asked gets praised. The child who never says no never gets punished for saying no. The problem is that you're no longer a child in that household. You're an adult surrounded by people who did not install those rules and have no idea you're still following them. The colleague who asks you to take on extra work does not know your nervous system interprets declining as dangerous. The partner who says, "I just thought you cared," does not know that that sentence bypasses every rational thought you have and goes straight to the part of your brain that was trained to comply at any cost. They found a door. They didn't build it. Your family built it. They're just walking through it. This is why advice fails. It tells you to just set a boundary without understanding that between the request and your response, there's a 2-second window where your entire childhood fires at once. The guilt response is faster than any rational thought you can produce. Telling you to just say no is like telling someone with a fear of heights to just look down. The barrier is not informational, it's neurological. Your nervous system is still running on software that was installed when you were 7 years old. When your mother's silence after you said no felt like the end of the world, that software has not been updated. It runs every time someone makes a request. The request doesn't have to be unreasonable. It doesn't have to come from someone with bad intentions. The pattern doesn't distinguish between a manipulator and a friend who needs a favor. It fires the same way every time. But there's a gap in that sequence, and the gap is where everything changes. Think about the last time this happened. Someone asked you for something. You felt that familiar tightness in your chest. 2 seconds later, you said yes. When did you decide? You didn't. The decision was made before your conscious mind had an opinion about the request. Here's the sequence that ran. Someone makes the request. Guilt activates instantly. The guilt says, if you decline, you're selfish. If you're selfish, you're a bad person. If you're a bad person, you will be rejected. That entire sequence fires and completes in about 2 seconds. Your rational brain is still loading. By the time you think, do I actually want to do this? You've already said yes. The evaluation happened after the decision. This is why you replay conversations in your head at 11 p.m. You're not frustrated because you made a bad decision. You're frustrated because you didn't make a decision at all. The pattern made it for you. For some people, the trigger is guilt. The request lands as guilt and fires before thought. For others, it's discomfort. The moment tension enters the conversation, their system says, make this stop. The fastest exit is agreement. For others, it's loyalty. After everything we've been through, they cannot separate what they owe from what they want. 3 different versions, 1 shared outcome. You said yes when you meant to say no, and you didn't realize it until it was too late. Now here's what actually changes this. You don't fix this by becoming a different person. You don't fix this by reading another book about assertiveness. You fix this by interrupting the sequence at the only point where it's vulnerable. The first step is seeing the gap, not changing what happens in it, just noticing that moment where your chest tightens, or the word yes starts forming before your brain is caught up. That physical sensation is the entry point activating. It's not a feeling you need to fight, it's information you need to register. It is buying time. There are 3 sentences that change everything. 1, let me think about that. 2, I'll get back to you. 3, give me until tomorrow. These don't say no. They don't create conflict. They don't trigger guilt. All they do is stretch that 2-second gap into hours. Hours where your rational mind can evaluate the request without the conditioned response running the show. The third step is the one most people aren't ready to hear. It's noticing who reacts badly to your delay. A reasonable person hears, let me think about it, and says, okay, that's fine. A person who depends on your automatic yes hears, let me think about that, and then panics. They push, they try to guilt you, they escalate. They need an answer right now because right now is when your pattern works in their favor. That reaction tells you everything you need to know about the relationship. It tells you the relationship was built on your compliance and not your choice. It tells you the pattern wasn't accidental. It tells you the person needed you to never see the gap. You weren't born a people pleaser. You were trained to believe that your boundaries are selfish, your needs are secondary, and your compliance is love. That training wasn't your fault, but interrupting it is your responsibility. Those are 2 different things, and separating them is where the real work begins. There's a free entry point assessment on my website, 28 questions, 4 minutes. It identifies which of the 7 patterns runs your default response and which tactics are designed to exploit it. My book is called Close the Opening. It maps all 27 tactics, which ones target your specific entry point, and the exact responses that ends them. Links to both are in the description. Next video, how narcissists test you without you knowing, not controlling, testing. The 5 things a test measures, and why your response to that test tells them exactly how to handle you from that point forward.